Good Wednesday morning, my dear church family. I hope you're in the middle of a wonderful week. I hope you're looking forward to Bible study tonight. And of course, as always, I hope you're living your very best life in Jesus Christ. Well, if you look behind me, you will notice that as I'm recording this, the sun is shining on a beautiful winter's day. Most of the snow is nice is gone, and we're finally able to get back to our normal routine that was interrupted by last week's snow and ice. And it reminds me that winter can be a difficult season of the year. It's cold, and to be honest with you, we see the sun less. Recently, an online friend sent me a video called "It's Okay to be a Winter Grump" that made me laugh, because I can certainly identify with this point of view. As I pointed out before, it's a difficult time for many people, whether you call it the winter blues or the blahs or a case of seasonal affectiveness disorder, which is a scientific term for I'm sad, basically. But winter can be a time of year in which we struggle. I mean, think about it. When you combine the difficulty of the weather with the ever-present level of disheartening news in our world, and of course now COVID, it's easy to get depressed and discouraged. Not too many years ago, I recall reading a wonderful devotion by the famous actress Doris Day that lifted my spirits. It's called "The Sap is Rising," and I'm going to share a brief passage with you, if I may. She writes that January and February are those months when winter seems interminable and vitality is low. In the face of world events, in the face of the mystery of suffering and of evil in the world, it's a good time to read the book of Job and then go on reading the Psalms, looking for comfort, that is, strength to endure. She goes on to remind us that the parable for the determined widow, in Luke 18, who out of sheer persistence was able to bring an ungodly and unjust judge to his senses. And of course, the object of this parable was to teach patience and perseverance in prayer specifically. She points out that during times of emotional and spiritual difficulty or struggle, we often neglect prayer, when that is the most important thing we can do to help alleviate our struggles. This story told by Jesus himself reminds us to do as the Apostle Paul later instructs us and pray without ceasing. Then, just as there was in that transition in the book of Job, when Job came to realization, then our sadness and grief can become Job's triumphant cry, and that is, "I know that my Redeemer liveth." It's in the scriptures that we can be assured that help will come, that the good will triumph, and that winter, no matter how interminable it might seem, will eventually pass. She concludes with this sentence, which I find interesting: "Bitter though it is today with ice and sleet, the sap will soon be rising in those bare trees down the street from us." And when I look at this, I'm reminded that Miss Day, who spent much of her life living in New York and working with the poor, understood how difficult the weather can be, especially for those poor and homeless, and the inevitable struggles that life presents. Yet in the midst of these, she turned to the scriptures and was able to see the opportunities available, and yes, even when it's cold. Rather than despair taking over, we have a chance to exercise that call of Luke 18, verse 7 and 8. "And will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off? I tell you, he will see that they get justice and quickly. However, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth?" Yeah, I know winter's not the greatest time of the year for many reasons, and it certainly will tend to make us winter grumps if we let it. And it can also certainly trigger many negative thoughts and emotions. But when we neglect our spiritual maintenance, when we cease to pray, to study, to read, and to worship, when we neglect coming to fellowship, then it can't help but undermine our faith and increase our struggles. We need to strive to continue to be faithful in the spiritual and physical winter times, just as we are in the summers and springs and falls. Let us remember to consistently and persistently do the things necessary to maintain our spiritual bodies, knowing that we serve a God who's faithful and who hears our calls and walks with us through these difficult seasons, whether or otherwise. He is always faithful. I hope you have a wonderful day today. Of course, I hope to see you at Bible study tonight. I want you to know that, as always, I'm here should you need me, and I truly, truly love you all. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.